गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नमः श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नमः। ॐ योऽन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्नाम् अन्याश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं प्राण भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं। Now we enter into the second chapter of chapter 1 section 2, and here this is about the uniqueness of this supreme love. The main topic is the bhakti, devotion, and here the uniqueness of this devotion is exemplified through the principle of renunciation. So the 7th sutra says, Sana kamaya mana nirodha rupatvat Sana kamaya mana nirodha rupatvat. Because it is of the nature of renunciation, there is no element of desire in that love divine, in that supreme love. It's said here that no amount of desire can ever, desire fulfillment can ever be equal to this fountain of love that is there in the heart of the devotee. And therefore, whom will you go after? As such, in nature we see that humans move or get attracted towards that which gives them more and more joy, even in the objective world. Now, once he has found this joy and love within his heart, will he go outside and desire anything? It is just not possible. And therefore, here it is said that love which he is feeling in his heart itself is a fulfillment in itself, and therefore the devotee does not ever in his life ask anything from the Lord. Please, I am your great devotee, so please heal my problem. If Raman Maharshi was such a great devotee, Ramakrishna Paramahansa was such a great devotee, they would have solved their cancer just by one single prayer to the Lord, and their cancer would have gone. If Ammachi is such a great devotee of the Lord, and if there is a sense of desire in it, she is severe diabetic. Severe. You can't even look at the chart. It's outside somewhere. But she doesn't eat, She hardly sleeps, no regular meals. So, Lord, I can serve you more. Please remove my diabetes. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. No. He, the one who was in charge, the Rinpoche of this Kagyu monastery, his photograph is there. He also died at a very young age. He was only in his late 50s or early 60, 61, something like that. And they say that he was very healthy. Within 8 years, all this has happened, 8-10 years. Why? He started, out of that love, he started healing other people and their problems he used to take on himself. But that feeling was not there. Oh, now I must meditate that I should get healed so that I can take problems of more people away. No, that feeling is not there. This love is without any demands. No desire fulfillment. The Lord is not made into a means to satisfy our own desires. And therefore it is said, this love can be gained. This love starts expressing forth when there is renunciation of all the desires in toto. Because if even one desire is there, this love will not express itself. So therefore, looking at it from a different point of view, a devotee, he is not thinking that I must not desire. He is only wanting to be intoxicated in the remembrance of the Lord. And in that mind where only Lord and Lord alone is there, from such a mind all the desires with their roots are removed. Urvarukameva bandhanat mrityor mukshayamamritat. He does not give up the desires. See, I keep telling, this is my own experience. I used to do pranayama and all that, and some vices I had, they used to go away. And when I used to stop pranayama and my meditation, they used to come back. 2 years went by doing this experiment, and I was getting frustrated. Arey yaar, ye jata hi nahi hai. Every time I do pranayama and start deep meditation, within 1 week, 1.5 weeks, they will leave me by themselves. But the moment I stopped, they used to come back. I was trying to find a solution. How do I get out of this? How do I get out of this? And one day, while I was just waking up from sleep, the idea came. Buddhu, till now you have been trying to give up the vices. You have been trying to do the pranayam. Let pranayam happen. Then how do I let pranayam happen? All you do is remember the Lord. And from that day, I stopped pranayam, I stopped meditation, I stopped everything. But I gave ultimatum to the Lord. I said, within 6 months, if you don't do something about it, I am not going to take your name ever in my life. And I started doing the japa of the Lord. But I gave him one commitment, 24/7, I will be remembering you. And I started chanting the name. I am at work, I am driving. 2-3 accidents also happened in that period. Because I was taking the name, I didn't realize where I was. Boom! Instead of brake, accelerator. $500 gone. And no insurance that time. I didn't even have insurance. But within 2 months, 3 months, why 2 months? This happened on 1st January 1995, I remember. Within 2-3 months, everything was over. The name of the Lord itself invokes a pranayam. But my attention was not on pranayam. My attention was on the name of the Lord, remembering the Lord, feeling His joy in my heart. And then everything that was happening as a result of pranayam on the seat of meditation, all that happened plus many more things. And within 6 months, 7 months, in that, as a result of that, I can only say that Swami Anuvanji came into my life. Because what next? Now there is nothing, the mantra also stopped, the name of the Lord also stopped. because there is nothing to achieve anymore. Then what? Then slowly the frustration was coming, in the sense that what's next? Is this what it is? And then one day, while in the seat of meditation, again, just like chant the name of the Lord was crystal clear in my head, this feeling was there. Go and study scriptures. Study scriptures. Not go and study scriptures. Study the Shastras. Shastra Adhyayan. Then I bought all the books. Nothing. I couldn't understand anything. And then I bought the ticket to Himalayas. I said, okay, there are many teachers in Himalayas, I'll go there. And how it all unfolded, that's another story. But it happens. So here, the devotee who has cultivated this, or who in whose heart this love is expressing, slowly but surely, without his knowledge, he starts turning away, moving away from all the normal, not only temptations of the world, but also anxieties of the world, expectations of the world. He does not care. अरे यार बिल कैसे पे होगा, अरे यार who will make the food, अरे यार who will do this. One more great saint was there, his name was Bhanudas, and he was very different. One day father said something, he says, no, I will not do it. The father said, get out. He walked out and straight away went into a cave in the hills, somewhere, wherever he was staying, and for 7 days he did not come back. Somewhere, somehow, did he think from where the food is going to come? If you think where the food is going to come, you will never leave the house. Did Dhruva think, I am going to search the Narayana, let me take a bag, let me pack my backpack. What will be there? A bottle of water, few sandwiches, maybe a sheet to cover myself, dry fruits to last longer. With all this preparation, you think God will come into your mind? Abandon and walk out. Just how Papa Ramdas did. You read that story, In Quest of God? Just walk out. This Bhanudas also walked out. What? You told me like this? I go. Went and stayed. Didn't worry. The same day someone came, one Brahmin from there came. Beta, please have a glass of milk at least if you don't want anything else. Every day, 7 days he gave him a glass of milk. And one day he told his father, your son is hiding there. And when the father went, he saw the son sleeping with his head on the feet of the Lord. From that day he was called the Bhanudas. And for us, we have to have our pillow, we have to have our duna, we have to have our night dress should be there, morning dress should be there. Where the Lord will say, yeah, he is busy in all these things, let him be busy. I will be busy. Unnecessarily I am getting disturbed by him. He will come and disturb me also. Khana banao. Leave this fellow. I don't want more tasks to do. So, in our understanding of love can be expressed in life only through sacrifice. And a devotee's love is to sacrifice everything else other than the Lord. And it is not, again we are saying, it is looking at it from down you are looking up. He has sacrificed everything. But from his point of view, I have not renounced anything. I am only thinking of the Lord. If this is called renunciation, you can call it renunciation. It's an effortless giving up. It's an effortless sacrifice. It's an effortless renunciation. With no friction. With no feeling of have I done something wrong, how will I not, nothing. And in this way, we see that in life, whether it be Heer Rahanja, whether it be any lovers, love stories which we have read, what Romeo Juliet, Laila Majnu, Shiri Farhad, all these you see, they didn't care what society talked about them. They did not care what repercussions they will have to face. They are only clear about one thing, their love for each other, isn't it? And they were ready to die for it. If this type of feeling is there within our hearts, that come what may, I will take the name of the Lord, even if I have to die, that will be a small price to pay, then Lord will come. But we go with all preparations. And in this way, then what is this, what is the nature of this renunciation in a devotee? This is told in the 8th sutra. Nirodhastu loka veda vyaparanyasaha. Nirodhastu loka veda vyaparanyasaha. This renunciation indeed is in the total giving up of all secular and religious activities. What is that which is needed to be given up? All desires to achieve in a sense of duty in the outside world and also in the spiritual world or in the religious world, it is told here. People are caught up in, I have to do this, I have to do, because this is the main objection that we get when people are told, "Arey, do a little bit of sadhana, yaar, you will be fine." But Swamiji, you are a renunciate, for you it is okay. But if you get married, if you have to pay the bills, you have to do this, you have to do that, then you will come to know. It's not a qualification to pay the bills. Why do we have to create a special identity of ourselves that we are duty bound and therefore we choose that duty to be a burden on our shoulders and then suffer on the account of it? Isn't it? So it's become an excuse not to pursue the spiritual path, not to remember the Lord in the name of duty. But that same scripture is telling you that greatest duty of human beings is to remember the Lord, to realize the Lord. That duty they can't remember. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, these are the places where you can put efforts. And what is the ultimate purpose of putting efforts? It says even if Dharma, Artha and Kama, the duty to follow the Dharma, duty to follow, to put efforts to procure wealth, putting efforts to satisfy desires, even if all these are not there, the greatest duty is to put efforts towards self-realization, moksha. See? And how do you come to know? When you study the scriptures, when you analyze your life correctly, when you come into the sangati of saints and sages. That's how you come to know. Even though this answer is continuously erupting within your bosom also, you know the answer, that what you are doing in your life will not give you the complete satisfaction and fulfillment. And you know that through meditation, through the remembrance of the Lord, the solution will come. But somewhere, some sabotage is going on in the mind. And that sabotage is non-renunciation of the world. Either you can say it that way, or the other side is you have not cultivated enough love for the Lord. See? And when, now in this scheme, in the 7th verse, we have cultivated renunciation, but we have to be clear what that renunciation is. And here it is told, renunciation of all secular activities, all the duties. change the bed, clean the toilet, vacuum the floor, drive the car, go for shopping, organize the pujas, then that comes into the religious. The religious, not only celebrating every festival, not only chanting, doing the Rudram on the every Pradosham, maintaining Ekadashi Vrata, doing Vrata on every Purnima. So many things are there. Our culture is full of it. Renouncing everything. There are people found to be practicing this and yet they are great devotees. But they don't insist that they have to practice that. It happens through that. So here it is said that as the devotion of the Lord increases, all secular, that is activities of the world, they start, you start growing out of those activities. And as you keep doing more and more of the devotion, slowly, the preoccupation with religious activities also ceases. It is seen in many people's lives that they have been doing puja for a long period of time. Then suddenly someday something happens that outer puja becomes manasik puja. Slowly that manasik puja also goes away. Only the name of the Lord remains in the mind. Slowly the name of the Lord also goes away. Only Om remains in the mind. Slowly Om also goes away. Only silence remains in the mind. Only slowly that silence also goes away. Only you remain. The mind also vanishes. This is the sequence. In all the paths, whether you take Kriya Yoga, whether you take Kundalini Yoga, whether you take Vedanta Vichar, whether you take devotion, whether you take Bhakti Marg, everywhere is the same. And this begins by the attitude of doing all activities for the sake of the Lord. So when you can't, if you decide that I renounce, you are going the wrong way. You should not renounce anything in this life by your own. Then it is a desire that I am renouncing something. What we must be doing is remember the name of the Lord in and through all the activities, with the attitude that all these, whatever field I am placed in to do whatever duties this body, breath, mind, intellect are doing, it's only by His grace. Every action that is coming out of me is only His prompting, not my doing. And this happens only when our attention is not on the fruit of the results. Now we are talking about Karma Yoga. How Karma Yoga converts into Bhakti Yoga. Karma Yoga is Karmanyeva Dhikaraste Ma Phaleshu Kadachana. Ma Phaleshu Kadachana. Non-expectation of any results. As a result, the mind gets purified to a large extent because no anxiety is in that mind. This is observed in a devotee. He is not giving up, he is just taking the name of the Lord. And that part is told. See how beautiful our scriptures are. If I start explaining to you how this all happens the same way, whether you chant Om, whether you do devotion, is the same thing. So what happens in, if you say Nada Brahma Yoga, where the sequence of the chanting of the name of the Lord is first loud, then soft, then from the heart, and then from Paravani. Vaikhari, Madhyama, Pashyanti, Para. These are the stages. Vaikhari is loud chanting. You are chanting the name of the Lord. This Vaikhari is equal to, if you take Om and divide it into A, U and Ma, this Vaikhari chanting of the name of the Lord is equal to A in the Om. The more you chant, you get lost into, just make a commitment that you are going to chant. Don't go into the mind loudly. And as you chant, automatically A represents the waking state. Loud chanting makes you immune to all disturbances from the world in the waking state. It will automatically happen. Try. And as it matures, now there is no need to chant loudly. Automatically that loud chant becomes soft chanting, madhyama. Madhyama is at the level of lips and at the level of throat, where the Adam apple just keeps moving inside. This madhyama, the lip chanting and the throat chanting, this represents in Om sadhana as oo. You become immune to the dream state. You conquer the dream state. In other words, you transcend the dream state. You renounce the dream state. And then that same sound, when you are no longer disturbed by involuntary eruptions in the dream, automatically that sound from there, from the madhyama, matures and goes to the heart, wherein you transcend the in the Om sadhana. Exactly parallel. Exactly Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. Shravanam is the first stage, Mananam is the second stage, Nididhyasam is the third stage. See? And when it happens here, the devotee starts feeling that the name of the Lord is being chanted of its own accord in the mind. Now no effort is required. See? Then what happens after that is para. The sound goes, so gross sound, subtle sound, subtler sound, and then it goes back to its source. And the journey of this sound back to its source is going into the Nabhi, from the Nabhi to the Mooladhar, from Mooladhar straight to Sahasrara, through the Sushumna. That is its journey. In other scriptures, we don't speak in that language. We say, we go through various samadhis in yoga. Savikalpa samadhi, Nirvikalpa samadhi. It's the same thing. Exactly the same thing. So all paths are talking about renunciation, but renunciation should not be a decision of your mind. It should be a result of your sadhana. It should be a result of, it should be a side product of the practices that you are doing. That is important. Till then, keep correcting your attitude with which you are doing the action. Whether you are thinking, whether you are imagining, whether you are chanting the name of the Lord, whether you are doing actions in the world, check what is your attitude behind that action. That is the most important initially. And once you have stabilized in this thought, in this conviction that all actions, whether at thought, word or deed level, are the promptings of the Lord Himself and nothing I can do about it. And understand that the grace of the Lord has dawned upon you. Now maintain that like a small sapling is maintained, protected from all sides. Protect yourself. Not out of fear. Not out of fear. And that protection is not that you are locking yourself up in a room, not meeting the people. If that happens, so be it. But true protection comes by increasing the intensity of devotion towards that divine theme. So even all those subtler impressions which are there in your mind, which could be consequent disturbances, they also get renounced. This is Nirodhastu Lokaveda Vyapara Nyasaha. These preoccupations that we find ourselves get involved in, all of them leave this devotee in toto. Then, but that will frustrate other people. Is other people's frustration more important, or love for the Lord is more important? Which is more important? No, but how can I disturb other people? They said, do not disturb the world nor get disturbed by the world. You are not disturbing the people or the world intentionally. And if this feeling is there, then do what is required to be done, remembering that it is the Lord's doing, not your doing. He has presented this thought, look at it, face it, and face the consequence. Slowly, you will wean out of it. And in this way, the Lord, how will a devotee look at it? He will say, he will see things not going according to, from the common man's perspective, this is not normal. He sees all obstacles, all challenges only as the divine Leela which the Lord is playing, which he cannot correct, he cannot improve upon, he cannot run away from. Mirabai did not run away from any of the challenges that she was facing. When people in Varanasi told Tulsidas that we will check whether yours Ramayana is the greatest one, what did they do? They took it away and they said we'll lock it up in the room in the Kashi Vishwanath temple, and they put it at the bottom and all other scriptures on the top. When they opened the next day, Tulsi Ramayana was on the top, everyone else was there. Who? But nobody went in. Who did that? At that time, no, what will happen? Will I go into depression? This, that, nothing of that thought. Whatever happens, happens. See? So the only thing the devotee is thinking is of the sweetness of the love that he is feeling towards the feet of the Lord in his bosoms. And that becomes the reason for renouncing everything. And in this way, then he comes to the second, Veda Vyaparanyasaha. Veda, the Vedic rituals, they also start having zero value to such a devotee. Whether he does puja, whether he washes hands, does not matter. I told you the story where that butcher, he had his feet on the Shivalinga. Now you don't go and try that. You will go behind bars or people will never allow you inside the temple ever again. Don't try that. Just because some are copy masters, He did that, I will also realize by drinking like that. It does not happen. You have to be. And such people, as this love, as this overwhelming love for the Lord starts emanating in the heart of the devotee, he becomes good for nothing. The words also don't want to come out of his mouth. If the body needs to get up from here and do something, the body seems as if it is paralyzed. He takes the name of the Japamala, he keeps rotating, that also, to move that one finger, to move that next bead, it becomes a humongous effort. It is not that he is lazy, it's that the mind has withdrawn from the body consciousness completely. And as it gets absorbed into the divine theme, deeper and deeper, to that extent, first the world is dropped, then the body is dropped, then the senses are dropped, then the mind is dropped, then the concepts are dropped. Then what remains is that divine alone. And once body is dropped, you see, a dead man is so heavy, isn't it? A dead man is very heavy to lift. No? Die and show. They say, I have never lifted one, but I am carrying one. I don't have to lift. Very heavy. Sannyasi is a renunciate. A renunciate is he who has done the last rites of his body. So I am carrying this dead body in my mind for I don't know how long. Last 6 years, of course, but how long more I have to carry, God knows. Right. So, where are we? So all these rituals and all these Vedas, they all leave this devotee of their own accord. For this devotee, every moment of his existence becomes an opportunity to be at the feet of the Lord at that very moment. That's how his mindset becomes. Continuing the explanation of the nature of renunciation, Naradji says, Tasmin ananyata tad virodhishu udasinata cha tasmin ananyata tad virodhishu udasinata cha. In the Lord, wholehearted, single-minded devotion, and in all else that are contrary to it, that is devotion, complete indifference. This is the nature of renunciation, nirodha. So what is renunciation? In this third verse it is told, complete indifference to everything other than devotion to the Lord is renunciation. Eyes will be open, ears will be open, tongue will be there. When Dhruva was meditating, his devotion became so deep in that 8-year-old child that initially he was getting up every breakfast, lunch, dinner to pick fruits. No cooking, only pick fruits from the trees. And when the fruits of the trees nearby finished, he had to travel more and more distance to collect the fruits for lunch, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whenever he was hungry. Then, naturally after that, he has to go and wash his face, then he has to come and sit down, drink some water, then sometimes he has to get up for toilet. So he started finding all these to be an impediment in his sadhana. So he stopped, he made a decision one day, I'm not from now onwards get up and go and collect fruits. I'm going to eat whatever nature gives me. And what nature gave him? All dry leaves around him. So he started eating dry leaves. But still he had to go and drink water sometime. In the third month, he stopped eating leaves also, so no toilet problem. And he stopped drinking water, no loo problem. Is it possible? Try. Without trying, how will you come to know? These are just stories. Do you have within you what it takes to become the beloved devotee of the Lord? It is possible, but
fruits for years.
No, yeah, but he gave up the fruits also. So attachment to fruits became more important. But here he gave up whatever became an obstacle between him and the Lord. He kept dropping away, including drinking water. Try it 2-3 days, 1 week, then you will find out something more about yourself. कितने पानी में हो और कितने पानी के बाहर हो, है ना? So here, what is nirodha? What is renunciation? It is single-pointed identification with the Lord in your heart, and as a result of that single-pointed devotion towards the Lord in your heart, an utter indifferent attitude towards everything else other than the Lord which presents itself to you. So you are aware that all these are but nothing. no reaction to it. Because the understanding, devotion does not mean just foolishly, blindly following the name of the Lord. Devotion must bring about understanding. And the understanding is that if I give value to anything other than the Lord, it will become a source which will snatch me away from the Lord. It will take me back into the world. If I think of anything or give value or attention to anything other than the Lord. So, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, and suddenly, right now it is all nice and cool, suddenly the heat increases. And you start giving attention to the heat. The Lord goes away, slowly, slowly. Hari Om, which was going on with love and devotion. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. Gussa aana shuru ho jayega. That is not. And why this is happening? Because your attention is on the heat. So wherever your attention is, whatever your mindset is, that type of language we speak, that type of thoughts we harbor in our mind. The best way to work out where is your mind. Don't ask someone. They will never tell the truth. They will only tell you what you want to hear. That you are a great devotee. That you are a great satsangi. That you are a very good person. Kunti Mata says, if you want to come to know the Lord and have His grace, O Lord, give me more and more challenges and difficulties in life, so that I remember you more and more. If you want good for yourself, don't surround yourself with sycophants. Sycophant chamche. Don't surround yourself with sycophants. Surround yourself with people who are ready and have the freedom to point out your shortcomings. क्योंकि तब गुस्सा आता है. And that time you can check whether how much you have matured in your life, how much your devotion has matured. Because when someone says nice things, it's natural for us to feel nice towards that person. So in this manner, such a devotee renounces all attachment to all the things and beings of the world, and just like the night is unfolded or is rolled away at the time of dawn, so also all attachments in the world are rolled away at the dawn of this devotion in our heart. See how beautiful. This is the renunciation, where you don't even know that you have renounced everything. All you think is of the sleep. The whole world renounces you. And when we go to a few satsangs and we start thinking, renunciation, from today I am not going to eat meat, from today I am not going to drink, from today I am not going to get involved with other people, and that leads to good amount of frustration in our life, because we have made the decision without proper preparation. Isn't it? So in this way, the attachment that the mind feels in the world is not, the joy that a mind gets is not from the objects of the world. The joy is from within. As Swamiji says, the joy, when suppose we are hungry and we eat food, the desire was there, the desire was fulfilled. The moment that desire was fulfilled with regards to food, the chattering of the mind stops. And that Swarupa, our nature, which is of the nature of Ananda, that expresses at that moment of silence, because the mind is not chattering anymore. Because if the joy was in the food, then we should be, instead of satsang, we should be having only food all the time and troubling Lalita. Eat or eat, eat or eat. But no, it does not happen. After some time, we get disgusted with food if we have overeaten. In the childhood, we have toys. See, we all have people in our house. One person enjoys buying saris. The father and the son are renounced with regards to that. But then they walk further, they come across some ties in the window. The husband stops, the other two have renounced that window. Then a toy shop comes. The child stops and the father and mother are renounced. They've got no value for it. So if the joy was in the toy or the tie or the sari, then everyone must get attracted and want to procure it. But it is not so. So the joy is in what mindset we are having, what value we are giving. That same man, when he was a child, he also enjoyed playing. Now he has renounced. He didn't even know when he renounced all the toys. I used to wear very expensive shoes all the time. Lot of money in my pocket all the time. Now only keys to nothing. Huh? That's how it used to be. But now, nice glass goggles, and I enjoyed nice things. But now that thought also doesn't come, that I must buy these type of goggles, I must buy these type of shoes, I must buy these type of clothes, I must collect this, I must collect that, I must collect that. No. When did it drop? I don't know when did it drop. I'll have to go back into the memory lane. I don't want to go there. But it dropped, because right now it's not there with me. When did your childhood drop? When did your teenage drop and you became a youth? When the youth dropped and you became a parent? We just keep moving on. Just like that. When we become intoxicated with the name of the Lord, knowing that that alone is the solution for everything in life, because that is the only right thing to be done in life, then everything will start dropping away from us. And this way, a true devotee eventually drops everything. What is this exclusive devotion? See, there was one verse. Where was it? It says, Tasmin ananyata. Hari Om. See. Tasmin ananyata. What is this ananyata? What is this exclusiveness? This is going to be explained in the next verse, next sutra. Because in this, there are two words given here. In general, it is told what is renunciation, but the two words, ananyata and udasinata, these two will be explained in detail. And here it is told, anyashrayanam tyago ananyata. Renunciation of all other supports is wholeheartedness in devotion. So what is renunciation? It is ananyata means exclusivity. Exclusivity means wholeheartedly you have dived into what you are doing, with no attention on the consequences of it. Some people you have seen that if a child is on a road and an accident is about to happen, something happens to that mother or whoever is an onlooker, and they just jump and save that child, unaware of the danger that they themselves were in, isn't it? That is ananyata. So here it is told that the ananyata is wholeheartedness. Wholeheartedness is equal to single-pointedness, and this wholehearted, single-pointed attention to the Lord, where the mind does not seek anything else, any shelter, any protection, any desire, except let this devotion and love in my heart increase, let it keep on increasing. That's all he thinks about. And whether in the outside world there is dissatisfaction, food came or not came, things are conducive or not conducive, nothing matters to him. He comes to depend for all satisfaction. We are involved in the world only for the mind to be satisfied. We go into the kitchen to satisfy our hunger. We go to the water to satisfy our thirst. We create relationships to satisfy our emotional needs, isn't it? We come to satsang because we want to satisfy our philosophical needs. But here, this devotee, he comes to realize that all satisfaction that I can get is from the Lord alone. Nothing and no one in this world can ever satisfy me in any manner or form. This is ananyata. And living it every moment of his existence in that frame. And in this way, when he has cultivated this type of mind, then even if his senses look at anything in the world which is very tempting, the mind does not go out of the senses to get attached to that. It's a blank look. He listens to beautiful music, but there is no attachment to that music. Like Guru Nanak Dev was there. He was sitting, everyone was coming, and one mother came with her daughter. And Guru Nanak Dev looked at her and kept looking at her without blinking his eyes. We are talking about ananyata. Kept looking at her without blinking his eyes. The mother was disgusted that I thought you are a great man, a great guru, you are old, and you are looking unblinkingly, you are looking at my daughter without any reaction to her. That great master, he says, my attention, yes, my eyes were looking at your daughter. The moment my eyes fell on your daughter, she is so beautiful, no doubt. But the mind started thinking how much more beautiful that Lord must be who created such a beautiful daughter. So my attention was on the Lord within, and I forgot. My eyes forgot that they had to blink because the mind was not available to the eyes. See? This is ananyata. Wholeheartedness. And the maturity of this ananyata, wholeheartedness, is the recognition that everything emanates in this creation from the Lord, everything is maintained by the Lord, everything goes back to the Lord. Lord is alone the reality, everything else is not the reality. This becomes evident to a devotee. And in this way, he only seeks to increase his love for the Lord. He seeks only to increase his devotion for the Lord. And as a result of that devotion, he sees the Lord and Lord alone everywhere, just like the gopis saw the Lord Krishna everywhere that they looked. There is a fire inside him. And it is not born, this fire is not because of running away from the world. It is not as a reaction to his duties. We went to one monastery in Sydney, and it is a Thai monastery, and there the monk there, his name is Framana. Framana. He's been there since last 22 years. Someone donated land to him. It's a beautiful Illawarra Valley. Beautiful place. And just if you look out straight to the sea over the mountains, and he is like a small child, that monk. So we had lunch together. He invited us there, myself and Sujata ji. He's like a small child. And yet, while he was speaking and being like that, there were moments where you could see, don't mess around with him. Whenever he had to, sometimes we could see the determination, the fearlessness in his eyes. Even though he is behaving like a child. See, a devotee is not afraid of anything. Why? Everything is the Lord alone. What's there to be afraid of? And in this way, this ananyatha, for this ananya devotee, for this wholehearted devotee, the Lord is never far away from his heart. The moment he thinks, the Lord is there at his bidding. And when he moves around in this world, such a devotee, as I said in one of the classes, every experience, every contact, every interaction, every relationship, the setting and rising of the sun, the fluttering of the butterflies, the fragrance of the flowers, the web of the spider, the dirt in the room, everything becomes a way to remember the Lord, to see the Leela of the Lord. When we see a spider, do we think of the Lord or we think of Martin? But he thinks of the Lord. And in this way, the ananyatha was explained. And now the second word, the word tad virodhishu udasinata cha. So this udasinata, the indifference, what does it mean? That is told in the 11th verse, which we will see in our next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnaha Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. We will have next